or not in the chat section.
Yes, Mehdi, you're audible.
Okay. So hope you all are in good health and excited to learn Android development. So welcome to this intro session of DSC's Android Study Jams. I am the facilitator of Android Study Jams and also the app development head at DSC VJTI. In this session, we'll talk about what is Android Study Jams, what you need for Android Study Jams, the tracks involved, and some other details. Over the past decade, smartphones have revolutionized our world. More consumers are using smartphones for different activities than ever before. So with increase in number of Android smartphones, there comes the demand for Android developers. Android, as we all know, was launched by Google in September 2008. You don't need to be an experienced programmer to learn Android development. If you wish to explore the world of Android development or even build a career in Android development, Android Study Jams is for you. So Android Study Jams are community organized study groups for people to learn how to build Android apps using an online training course. This is similar to what was 30 days of Google Cloud, except that this time the registration is very simple. You have to just go through some code labs and you have to just do the same steps mentioned in the code labs. So what's in it for Android developers? Like, why learn Android development? Here are some interesting reasons. Enormous market share of apps and variety of jobs to choose from. As of first quarter of 2020, the number of apps available on Google Play Store was 2.56 million. So due to the growing market share of Android apps, big organizations are looking for Android developers. Once you learn Android development and start building your apps, you will be able to make your app reach millions of people worldwide. Second reason, Play Store. As a matter of fact, millions of apps are active and thousands of new apps are added to Google Play Store every day. Play Store has the potential, and if you have the potential to develop apps, you will have multiple channels of earning. Third reason is growing technology. So as we all know, smartphones are getting smarter every day, and the scope of Android development will touch to greater heights in near future. Actually, this is just a beginning for Android, and we can say that there is much more to happen in future. So this is the right time to make yourself future ready. Android 1.0 was the first version that was released in September 2008, and the latest version is Android 11. So since the operating system has been updating each year, each version comes with new features. So as an Android developer, you have to update yourself with the latest version. This helps your career to keep learning new things and also boost your skills. Okay, so I got to know why to learn Android development, but why learn Android development in Kotlin? Like, why learn Kotlin? Now, this question can be broken down into three. Maybe there will be some Java developers attending this session. So they might have this question that if I know Java already, then why should I learn Kotlin? Kotlin is more concise as it solves problems with fewer lines of code. It enables a change in the code effectively and efficiently, which improves code maintenance and readability. Now in Java, there's something called null exception. Null is basically something that doesn't hold any value. And on null, you cannot perform any operation. So for example, if I say X has a null value, and if I tell to add 1 to X, this will give me an error called null exception, because you cannot do any operation on null value. This problem was overcome by Kotlin with its null safety check feature. Now, another thing is that Kotlin's compiler is basically that helps you to run Kotlin programs, just like the Java compiler. So Kotlin's compiler's main focus is to fail fast whenever possible. This means that how many ever errors that can happen, this will happen in compile time rather than in runtime. Compile time means the time when you're developing the app and testing the app on a device, and runtime is when the app is being run on the device. So you don't want errors to happen on runtime, but even if it happens in compile time, then it's good. You get to know it before even running the app on the device. Another great thing about Kotlin is that it's 100% interoperable with Java. What do you mean by interoperable with Java? So, for example, if you have a Kotlin file and a Java file, both the files can exchange data with each other. So even if one file is written in Java and the other file is written in Kotlin, they can still exchange data with each other. That's why some apps on Play Store are partially built with Java and built with Kotlin. There might be some Flutter developers attending this session, and they too would have some question that why learn Kotlin when I already know Flutter? As per my experience, even I'm a Flutter developer, and one big problem that I faced as a Flutter developer is that I have a app on Play Store, and I wanted to build Android home screen widgets for that app. That is currently not possible. I don't know, because Flutter is growing at a rapid pace. This problem will be solved for sure, but I don't know when this will be solved. And even the developers of Flutter, they added something called platform-specific code, which means you can add Android-specific code in Kotlin for Android and Swift-specific code, iOS-specific code for iOS in Swift. Now, if they have added such a feature, they would have added for a reason, right? And even the packages in Flutter are built using the native code. So, okay, I don't know Flutter, I don't know Java. Why learn Kotlin in general, or as my first programming language? The answer to this is similar to the first question. Kotlin is very easy to learn. It's even more readable as compared to Java. And of course, as I said before, it's 100% interoperable with Java. Kotlin was like basically designed as a better and more modern version of Java. It improves a lot of pain points and bad design decisions in Java language that turned out to be the most annoying over the last 20 years. This doesn't mean that Java is obsolete, but for Android, anyone would prefer Kotlin for Android development. Okay. There are some success stories as well. Flipkart reduced its code size to 30%. As I said before, that if you have to solve the same problem, Kotlin will do it within lesser lines of code as compared to Java. And even the time to stabilize was reduced by 20%. Similarly, Swiggy reduced its code to more than 40. They reduced the code by 40% and more than 50% reduction in crashes. So one of the crashes is because of the null exception. So whenever null exception happens in an Android app, the app closes, right? The app crashes, and we don't want that to happen. And Kotlin takes care of that. Basically, whatever you learn will never go waste. Always remain open to learning new things. If you don't learn, you don't grow. As simple as that. Okay, of course, we will have to learn Kotlin, and to run Kotlin programs, we would require a compiler. So either you can install Intel IDEA's Kotlin compiler, or you can just use Kotlin Playground. I suggest you just use Kotlin Playground so you don't have to go through that hassle of downloading a compiler and running Kotlin programs. You can run Kotlin programs on the web itself. Okay, before showing all the tracks, there are some equipments needed. Of course, you need a computer and an internet connection. Android Studio should be installed on your computer. And I suggest you to keep an Android device and USB cable, though it's optional. You can run the app on an AVD. AVD is basically Android virtual device, or a virtual device running on your computer, so that you can run your apps on that device to test it. Okay, so I'll paste this link in the chat section so that you can go to this link. And once you go to this link, you will see a page similar to this. Okay. So once you go to this link, you have to create a profile. I've already created a profile. You can just sign in, and this will create a profile for you. We'll wait for a few seconds until everyone's done creating the profile. So we'll wait for like 30 seconds or so. Okay, should I move forward? Okay. So basically, you have two tracks, and you will get a certificate of completion after the completion of track two, which is this one, prior programming experience. But I suggest you to do both the tracks because for some people, it can starting with the second track directly can be a bouncer. And if you do the first track before doing the second track, you will understand the concepts better. So the track one is for for people who are new to programming, but even you have some prior programming experience. I suggest you to start with track one itself so that you can understand track two even better. So if you go to new to programming track and unit one, Kotlin basics for Android, go to this task, Android basics, create your first Android app. Okay, now inside this, there's an introduction to Android Studio. If you want to watch, you can watch it. It's optional. Now inside this code lab, you have the download instructions for Android Studio. So there are some system requirements that you can go through, and then these are the steps to install Android Studio. So this is the installation procedure for Android Studio. It's quite simple, and mostly you will not face any problems, but in case you do face any problem, then you can ask us on the Slack channel. All right, we go back to the slides. Okay, so I'll just go through both the tracks. So new to programming track is basically about learning the basics of Android apps with Kotlin programming language. And you will be able to develop simple apps like a birthday greeting app. So the prerequisites for this track are just basic computer literacy and basic math skills because it starts literally from scratch, even Kotlin language. Even the first session that we'll held is about introduction to Kotlin. So you don't need to worry about the Kotlin. So new to programming track has 6 topics to cover. First is about introduction to Kotlin, and the second is creating your first Android app. Third is about building a basic layout, and fourth is about adding a button to your app so that you can add some interactivity in your app. And the fifth is about getting some user input from the app and displaying a scrollable list in the sixth task. This track shouldn't take you more than 4 days because even when I started doing these tracks, I was doing these tracks while studying for ESE. So that's why it took me 4 days to complete this. Otherwise, you might finish it in like 1 or 2 days. But I suggest you once we start with the first session, then you can start doing these tracks. Then there comes a prior programming experience track. Of course, for this, the prerequisites are some prior programming experience in an OOP language, and you should be familiar with how to use an IDE or integrated development environment. And you should also be familiar with GitHub, since in the tracks you will be asked to download the starter projects so that you can build the apps upon that. So you need to be somewhat familiar with GitHub as well. And the curriculum used involves Kotlin cones, but since we will be teaching you Kotlin, you can skip that, and that's option. So that's not necessary. And again, what you learn in prior programming experience track, it's all about building your first app, adding interactivity to the app, layouts, navigation, activity fragment life cycles, architecture components. You learn about databases because you would require to store some data on the device or on some server. And there's something called recycler view, which will help you to display lists, grid lists in the form of grid or just a vertical scrolling list. Then you learn how to connect to the internet, because your app, sometimes for some tasks you need to connect to the internet through your app, and that's what you learn in this. Then there's something called repository and work manager, and the 10th one is all about themes and everything, the designing part of the app. Now, another good news for you is that one of the apps made by you would be selected by us based on some parameters, like what the idea is, how different it is from other apps, and there are some other parameters that we'll take into consideration, and that might be showcased by Google in blog format or on their social media. Okay, how will your progress be tracked? As in, how we'll get to know that you actually completed all the tracks. So after 25th Jan, we will release a form. Inside that form, you have to upload your Google developer profiles screenshot. In that screenshot, your email ID and your profile picture should be visible, and all the badges. So if you go to g.co, the link that I shared, okay, and you see the settings icon, click that and go to Google developer profile. Sign in to viewer profile if it prompts you to sign in. Okay, so while taking the screenshot, make sure this is open so that we can see your name, your email ID, and your profile picture. And then you can take another screenshot to show all the badges. Okay. Go back to the slides. Now, while doing the labs, even I faced some errors. There might be a chance that you might face those errors. So we have prepared a doc in which there are some errors with their solution. So the errors are highlighted in red. Sorry, they're written in red, and the solution is written in green. So in case the error you faced is not mentioned in this doc, you can still ask us on Slack. We have also prepared some resources for you. So this is a link to the resources doc, and you can go through the resources. This is the main website, the link that I just shared. And there are some more resources and introduction mentioned in this doc. If you have any doubts, there's also a doc for that. And this is the PPT for the intro session. PPT for session 1. Okay, so that's it for this intro session. Of course, it's an intro session, so it should be short. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat section.
Okay. Maybe can you stop screen sharing once?
Yeah, I'm stopping.
Yes. So, like Mehdi suggested that this was an intro session. From next time, we'll be having sessions which teach some concepts to all of you. So for those sessions, what we planned was that who will be teaching those sessions to you? It will be BJTI students. Now for BJTI students, it might be your senior, it might be your junior or your peer. Mostly what we have been doing till now is that a senior teaches some concepts in a workshop and we learn from a junior perspective. But what we are trying to do here is through these Android study jams, we have introduced the entire portion to all of you. And as you can see, the doc, there are so many resources available online as well. So if you want to begin early, you can start now. And what we suggest is that if you have confidence in teaching a concept in your study group, in the study jam, do approach us so that you also get a confidence of teaching or explaining your point in a group like this. So we are open to people who would want to come and teach concepts. We will be sharing the list of all concepts that we are trying to teach in these study jam sessions that we have planned. So if in any case you want to come and deliver your content, you can. Also, I'll be sharing my screen once here. So, as Mehdi pointed out, this is the GitHub repository. And in this, you have the resources and introduction section, which takes here. So, as you can see, this is the Kotlin vocabulary articles, videos available on YouTube. We will also be starting from scratch with all of you. But for those who want to do on their own at their pace, they can do that as well. And the program timeline is from 25th of November to 25th of Jan. So you have time till January, but these code labs that you will be taking will require you enough time to, understand the concept, practically implicate it while you make some apps, and then complete the quizzes as well. So these three steps will require time. So if you're learning something new, definitely invest time in that. And the tracks are clear. I hope there are two tracks. Start with new to programming track. Resources are mentioned in this doc, and the importance of Slack. Once again, I would like to highlight here. We have been using Slack for like 2 or 3 months now. However, the activity is not quite that great. I would request all of you, if you want to continue with Kotlin, join Slack channel, and there is a specific Kotlin channel there. So all of you can interact there. WhatsApp groups become too sometimes confusing. So we will be announcing everything on WhatsApp, but the discussions and everything will go on Slack. So I hope you keep your notifications on Slack as well. And again, I'm saying, for those who want to teach the concepts, if you are confident, please do approach us for that in that matter. Okay. So any doubts that you all have now? If you will ask about the next session will either be on 17th or 21st. So we are deciding on that, and we will let you all know. So the next session is that we will be sharing what we are going to cover in that session first only, so that you can decide. Anything else, any doubt that anyone has? What's the last date to cover tracks in order to get certified? The last date is 25th of January 2021.
Yeah, but I suggest you to complete by 24th or 23rd Jan, like 1 or 2 days earlier, so that you get the surety of certificate. And if you, if you do it with utmost concentration, then I think you'll complete it in like 10 or 15 days. It's not that much.
So do we need to complete both the tracks? See, first track would be required for you to get a basic knowledge, and it's up to you actually how you want to go about it. If you are a beginner and you want to learn Kotlin, explore Kotlin, definitely go for both the tracks.
Okay, so as per my experience, I wasn't familiar with Android concepts and like activity life cycles and everything. So I started with the first track, and then I moved on to the second track. And that in that way, I understood things better. So if you have done Android development before in Java, then you can start with the second track. But if you're just a beginner who doesn't even know about the Android concepts, then I suggest you to start with the first track. And Ayan, as I said, it won't take more than 10-15 days to complete both the tracks. The first track you can complete in like 2 or 3 days, and the second track maximum it will take 13, maybe 14 days.
When we are trying to learn Kotlin, we will focus on building apps for real. So that's up to you how much ever time you can take to
Yeah,
build any kind of app that you want, because you have now learned a language. In that PPT that we have shared with you, you have to basically install Android Studio. So if you need the steps to install, it is mentioned in the PPT, so you can download it from there.
and
If
even if it takes more than 14 or 15 days, don't worry, because you have ample amount of time. You have time till 25th Jan, and that's a lot of time.
you are starting early, so yes. Also, one last question to all of you: is this Bevy platform preferable to all of you than Meet, or you want to keep the sessions on Google Meet? It's great, but it's just that you all can't speak, so you just have to write every query that you have. So Google Meet is fine. What's the advantage of this over Meet? Well, the advantage of this over Meet is for us, the organizers, as the recording is inbuilt here, and the check-in system that we have, that is also inbuilt. I don't need to personally go and check in everyone. As soon as you enter, there's a check-in feature which gets automated. So from organization it's easier, but we want you to help us know. Google Meet. Okay. This is also fine.
I
Cool.
think, Palak, you can. I think the one who wants to unmute and ask, you can make him the host, right? So that he can unmute and ask, right?
Yes, we can do that. But that will take time, na then.
Yeah, that's one
You
problem.
will message me, then I'll make them the host, and then they'll ask.
Yeah, that's going to be tedious.
Meet if possible. Google Meet, please. Chat is delayed on this platform for me. Okay. So for those who are fine with this are also fine with Google Meet. So we can do that as well. This works. Okay. So I hope you will start with the tracks. If not, if you want to start with us from the scratch, we will be doing that. No worries. If you want to begin, you can start now. You have the link. You have the registration process with you. You can have a doubt session. But Arvind, what if you have doubt in the middle? If you want to stop us and ask us there and then, okay. Okay, so if all of you don't have any doubts, then we can end this session here. Available on Slack every time, and also you can ask your doubts on WhatsApp. So it's up to you, but we prefer Slack. Will all the details be shared on Slack too, since I was not able to learn? Yes, yes, we will share all the details on Slack, Krisha. However, for this Kotlin session, we have just prepared one link for you, this GitHub link. Everything is here. The PPT that we shared today, the resources, the main website, everything is here. Registration is done. Mehdi, if you can just
Yes,
brief.
you created a profile on StudyJam's website, right? On Google Developers website. Yeah, then your registration is done. You just have to RSVP before every event that we're going to conduct, and also check in, and that way your registration will be done. And as I said, after 25th Jan, I'll release a form, and in that form you have to upload a screenshot of your Google Developers profile, in wherein you will uh, uh, your profile picture should be visible, your email ID, and also all the badges. So at least the 10 badges of track 2 should be there. Okay, any more questions? Okay, seems like we have no more questions. Okay, we'll end this session here. We'll see you in the next session, in which we'll start introduction to Kotlin. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.